also entrepreneurs at Espresso. Raise your hand if this is your first time attending this event. Awesome. Well, so glad to have you, and also welcome out those of you guys that have been attending. This event is put on by a number of organizations, CEVIC, Charlottesville Business Innovation Council, CIC, Community Investment Collaborative, SBDC, Small Business Development Center, and then we are, is that everyone? Yes. And then we're sponsored by the Batten Institute at UVA, Watermark Design, and the Code Building, which is so generous in giving us the opportunity to be here. And so we're very, very grateful. So this event is a pretty unique networking event. There's networking on the front and back end. But what we do is every month, we meet the third Tuesday of the month. We have two speakers. We have an early stage speaker, so a company that shares about the company name and ask to the audience. And so you have the opportunity to participate and help them move their business to the next level. And then we have a more seasoned entrepreneur that shares their crash and learn stories. And those are stories that you might not otherwise get to hear, and it's always fascinating. And we're always very grateful for both speakers coming in. Before I get started, we had a sad week in the Charlottesville entrepreneurial ecosystem and lost a friend, Damon DeVito. And I wanted to take a moment of silence because Damon has been a speaker here as a seasoned entrepreneur. He has shared his story. Not too many months ago, we actually led a panel of other entrepreneurs, and he is a advisor, mentor. He's an adjunct professor at Darden, and just an entrepreneur, and truly loved. And ironically, he passed away on Valentine's Day, but we know his love for the community will live on through every entrepreneur that he invested in. And I know if any of you had the opportunity to interact with him, he's with you. And so I did want to take a minute and a silence for you. Okay. All right. So I will. Yeah. So we will jump into our programming. I am excited to introduce our first speaker, Charlene Munford. A little bit of background on her. Okay. A little bit of background on Charlene. She's the owner-operator of Monster Cleaning Services, and she started this business in 2020 after being a lifetime restaurateur and obviously was impacted by the pandemic. And so that was her opportunity to start this opportunity. What she does is extreme cleaning of quarters, the neurodivergent. She'll talk more about it. It's very fascinating. She is here. She actually grew up in New York, Pennsylvania, and eventually came to Virginia for high school and stayed in the area. She is here with her son River, came to watch her and support her. And actually the camera crew that you see here is with Charlene. And so if you don't want to be on camera, just let them know and they'll blow out your face if there's any media. But otherwise, help me welcome Charlene.
Right, how are you guys today? Good. I'll just jump right in. My name is Charlene Munford. I'm the owner and operator of Monster Cleaning Services. I specialize and focus on porters, neurodivergent clients, and industrial cleaning. These are some of the before and after pictures of my work. Pretty rough, but there's a reason why I love this kind of work and I have a passion for it. And I just want to be pretty transparent about my backstory. So from a young age, I somehow had grit inside of me. I don't know where it came from. My father passed away when I was 8. Shortly afterwards, my mom had multiple heart surgeries. She was in and out of the hospital. Finances were pretty low and times were not easy. We were constantly worried about basic necessities like food and clothing. After seeing my mom struggle, I sought to find a solution. She imported most of my father's clothing and his tools after he passed, like she just couldn't get rid of it. At the age of 10, and the help from my niece, who was actually 4 at the time, I had this brilliant idea to price out all my father's old clothing and tools. And somehow I convinced my mom to drop us off at the local flea market. And that entire summer, I think I contributed $2,000 to the family, and I was able to help with school clothes that year, supplies, and food. And I think that's one of my first sparked my entrepreneurial spirit. But unfortunately, my life became a lifetime movie. Teenage years were not easy without my father around. I married young at 19. It was a very abusive marriage. Addiction followed after that, depression. Fast forward to 2018, I met the love of my life. We worked at a local restaurant here in the downtown mall. That's when my spirit rehashed. We spoke about and planned starting a biohazard cleaning company together. And that consists of crime scene cleaning, suicide, hoarders. I was looking forward to starting this venture with them. Sadly, my boyfriend suffered from PTSD from the military and fortunately took his life that year. As a result, I didn't have much interest in crime scene cleans after that. Fast forward again to the pandemic. It's 2020. My job in the restaurant industry was on pause because the restaurant was closed indefinitely. I had to think fast and act for survival, and I already had a few of the cleaning materials that I had bought for this big idea. So I called a friend overnight. We made a logo for Monster Cleanin', and I started my extreme cleaning business overnight. I named the business after my son. His name is River. He's right there. He calls himself River Monster, so it seemed perfect to call it Monster Cleanin'. The infancy of my new business was scary, especially with no schooling or capital. I remember I had actually borrowed my first broom because I didn't have one. I faced a ton of challenges at first: cash flow, employee retention, client relations. I also started during the pandemic with a 5-year-old. So this was our virtual school. Most kids were at home with their parents. He had to go to job sites with me and set up almost every day, sometimes twice a day. It was very difficult. But my son is very resilient. But I still face a very big problem, which is I'm unsuccessful at retaining employees. It's a huge high turnover for any company, but when you go to extreme, it's difficult. It's a physically demanding job, and it's not necessarily desirable. So this brings me to today. I'm currently overworked still. I work 7 days a week physically, up to 100 hours. I do hoarder jobs, I do regular cleaning jobs, industrial jobs. I love the work, but it's not sustainable to my health. So it's time to pivot, and I've contemplated this transition for a while, actually with the help of my son. So if the content creator world is way bigger than I thought, and I didn't realize that you could actually make a lot of money on YouTube. And just putting a camera in front of me, clean it. So I've been doing a lot of research lately. I was like, why not monetize what I do? And we created the word, or the name Mommy Monster. We'll keep the same logo, the same premise of what I do. And I want to make it fun and creative. I know a lot of the cleaning YouTubers, it's just a very process-based. So I want to come with a different platform. These platforms are immense popularity, and they transformed entertainment channels to powerful monetized tools for business and personal brands. You can see that over the years, just the users on YouTube have gone up, and it's pretty amazing. And there are several, I'll go through this pretty quick, but there are several ways to make money on YouTube. The biggest one is partner with brands. And that would be like the products or the supplies that I use in the videos. And then affiliate programs, those are like the links you would see in between, like almost like a commercial, I guess. Sell merch, that's a big thing. online courses. I also want to give some value to the clients and people like hoarders. I've noticed that a lot of my clients, I will clean their house. It would take a week or so. And I call them back in a couple months and it's right back to where it is. And I've learned that if I give them some kind of structure and a way to help them maintain it, it's better. So that would be a great way to show on online courses with that. And these are a few other ways. The highest YouTube star is Mr. Beast, our favorite, right? Remember? And the highest clean-in star makes about $250,000 a year, and the average is about $55,000. So I don't want to be average. This is how I want to stand out. I create a storyline instead of just process to clean from A to B. Have client interviews in the videos, just like the show hoarders. The actual clients will sit down with me. We talk about their life. And diversify the brand deals. Instead of just cleaning products and supplies, talk to self-help people and self-help and mental health brands as well. And make it fun. Having my son in the videos for just small cameos would be awesome. And inspire people. That's the biggest part for me, is I want to show that you can still keep on fighting no matter what. This life is beautiful. And my question to you guys is, how can I partner with the local community in the beginning stages of my personal brand to help the momentum?
Did you guys see it going that way? I did. All right, so she's asking for help in kind of getting off the ground and ideas around getting that social media presence built and that kind of thing. So I'm gonna come with the mic for your ideas.
So you have an amazing story, and I think you could really inspire a lot of youth. And so my thought is, what if you connected to some of the local high school counselors and found seniors who need like a mentor and a job, and then are willing to sign a release and be featured so that their stories, they have a chance to share their story, which is engaging. People will root for them, they're gonna root for you, they're gonna share it with their friends, their family. So I think if you were to check in with their career counselors at every high school and kind of just start talking to them, that might be an open door for the community and for spreading your story.
That's a great idea. Thank you.
Well, you mentioned Mr. Beast. He's been pretty straightforward about his process of actually examining what the top channels on YouTube did to replicate whatever he could see happening on multiple ones. So that's something within your space and possibly also adjacent spaces you could sort of check and figure out. One thought I had, I don't know if you're familiar with a channel called Post 10, and the fact that you're talking about neurodivergent.
Yeah.
He's some sort of on spectrum person who gets a charge and thrill out of declogging drains and causing roadways to be freely goable. And he does these like 40-minute to 3-hour videos of him tramping out in rainstorms and unplugging a street while like traffic goes by and splashes them. He has something like 5 million subscribers, so he's making tons and tons of money. So focusing in on sort of the satisfaction of cleaning, the public service aspects of things, stuff like that. I think that tickles the algorithm a lot. And also tickles the user base a lot, and so you know, the community will help, but getting on YouTube's good side is going to help a lot more.
Is this an all or nothing equation for you in terms of stepping away from the fleet?
Yes.
Is there a middle ground?
No.
There is not. Okay. Because I do wonder if you could define those parameters around which you will continue to provide the cleaning services for some, again, you define it, limited audience, certain types of jobs, certain schedule works for you and your family. And oh, by the way, provides avenues for content creation, perhaps.
So I'll still have clients, but it tends to be like the show orders where I would still have clients that I would clean with the camera in front of me, and I wouldn't charge the client any money, but they would have to allow me to have the cameras in the home. So I would still be doing cleaning, but not as much in front of the camera, and and I would make money through the brands. But I can't do this full time anymore. It's just, it's not sustainable to physically at all.
Think about it. I just wonder if there's an angle there, because by the way, as you build, obviously, a YouTube channel or social media channel, it will take time.
Yes.
The idea of income streams coming in the meantime.
Yeah.
So,
I'll just have to juggle both. I'm used to juggling, so.
I was wondering if we could partner together. I'm a real estate agent, and I often have houses where, like I had one at the minute, and the lady lived there for like 40 years and didn't clean, and it's filled with like, it's a horror story. And so I think what you're offering is if I could get the owners, well, what's difficult is the woman's deceased, so then I'd have to get the children to agree to allow you to video, is that what you're saying? And then you could use it for content that you would clear the house out and clean it
Yes,
in return for the content.
yes.
Yeah. Like it's, I'm just thinking through as we go, the difficult part is getting the children of the deceased lady to let you do that.
That's an issue now. Like I have so many pictures before and after, but I can't share them because they're just too embarrassed.
Yeah. Yeah, because I love the idea because it saves, it's something I could offer, you know, hey, we can take care of your house, we can clean it out, we can do it, and it would be great content. Because when I walk through these houses, I'm like, this is amazing, you never see this anywhere.
Yeah.
You know, and also it's not just like that lady's been there 40 years, so it's like a time capsule. Sometimes you go in there and you see like an old Game Boy or some, you know, even the older machines and even appliances from the 1960s are fascinating to me when they make them in like purple, baby blue, or, you know, I would watch that stuff on YouTube. So it's definitely something I would be interested in. Again, I just say that the hard part is getting the permission.
Good morning. I was just going to echo sort of what was commented. Seems like there could be middle ground, right? Maybe that you can generate revenue while you're creating content. I just don't know a lot about the YouTube space, but in this room, there's somebody that does, right? So I would just sort of ask that maybe afterwards, let's connect someone who has expertise in how to create content, monetize content, and then maybe help you with a sort of format going forward. If you think about a business model, and we can talk afterwards a little bit. If you're going to be in business, you can sort of think about who your customer segments might be. And a real estate agent, that might be a sort of a unique customer segment was sort of a unique opportunity to do all kinds of stuff. My gut reaction is, you're gonna charge for that and film. That would be my gut reaction, because it's a service that's valuable, very valuable. And then there's gotta be some opportunities and angles that getting people over this, I'm embarrassed about the, we're gonna make up a name of where the city and the location is to protect the innocent. I don't know, but I think you're onto something, and if you keep resilient, and that's what
I don't have time to do all the comments, but, I'll do two more. First of all, as a mom myself, you're amazing. This is really cool. I actually do have a background in video production and social media, so let's chat online. But, my thought here is there's two angles that you're really talking about. In order to grow an audience, there's this teaching people how to clean themselves, where, I'm at home, how do I deep clean my washing machine? Like, I don't need to hire that out, like, my house isn't a hoarding situation, but I do need to know some of these things, and there's an education factor to that, where you can really utilize everyday cleaning things or monthly cleaning things to gain content and grow an audience around that. Then there's this deep cleaning hoarding situation where, as you said, like, there's a mental health aspect to that, which when you watch shows like Hoarders and things like that, there's like an element of like deep trauma that people have to overcome. And it's almost like, is that like the long form kind of thing where you're also helping people understand, like, yeah, it may be embarrassing, but like you're overcoming it. I don't know, I think this is two different types of content, but I think there's a need, like, I think there's an avenue for both, and I think there's platforms for both. I also want to echo, like, you're not going to, I will not let you go and film in exchange for content, or go and clean in exchange for content. You are providing a service, you should get paid for that, and then also get the content. Like, that's how you should be running it. You are providing a very good service, so get paid for it.
I also want to, just admire your resilience. It's the secret of life. How do you keep going forward and put one foot in front of the other? I agree with the issue of you've got to get paid up front. I hear the physical demands of things. But just like what you just said, there's the cleaning and there's a coaching component. Can you actually, because people are going to maintain what you teach them if you can coach them. And I'm wondering if there's a coaching model in between there. I hate to call it Maria Kondo, but in that kind of vein of things, and then the filming. But my advice to you would be, you've got to start with something that generates the income to branch out to this. And whether it's cleaning 20% of the time, only for your gold clients that pay you a lot per hour. And so that it can grow the business. Because if you go, it could take 2 years before you replace the income that you were making, or more, who knows. But and maybe think about that coaching component in there, and maybe not always filming, because at some point at the beginning, it's got to be the stuff that generates, make sure that River gets all of the things that he wants to do and as clean as he wants. But that'd be my advice, is think about cleaning, coaching, and social media.
Last one, please, did you have something?
Sure.
Hi. So Charlene and I've known each other a long time. She's besties with my niece. You talked about the beauty part of it, and I think that's really exceptional. That was a good thought. Along the mental health side, there's a company called Brandify that came out of UVA. The Charlottesville Angel Network invested in this portfolio company. And I wonder if she might be interested in entertaining a conversation with you. What they do is they provide a service online to compare fancy brands, and they give you reviews of these, this or that, is it really worth the extra $2 or $20? And so all these reviews come through and they assess that, but from that, they added on and pivoted a bit, and they have their own brands. So Brandify has its own products now. I wonder if she might be interested in the mental health component of what they're doing. I'd be happy to make that introduction for you.
Shelley, what is your contact information, if people have more ideas for you or want to get in touch with you?
Charlene at monstercleanincseville.com.
So CHARLENE at monstercleaningseville.com. Great, give her a name.
Thank you.
So, all right, so I am going to introduce our next speaker. All right, Don Dunham, another great friend of ours, regular attender of CE2. Background is he's a global oil and gas executive for Shell and BP in his past. In business development, finance, and operations, with extensive experience in that oil and gas industry, overseeing international locations and operations, and leading joint ventures. A little bit of Don's background: he actually grew up as a Navy grad, but largely in the Virginia Beach area. He came to UVA for mechanical engineering. Then his first job out of college was with Shell, so he moved out to California for Shell. And then much of his career, I think he went to Darden after that. He actually also went to Darden, got his MBA. Much of his career was with BP, 25 years or so. So they've gone to the world for finance work, did a lot of traveling, and has been back in Charlottesville for the last 4 years. Has his own consulting company, Cavalier Professional Services, where he is a knowledgeable leader that effectively leads remote teams and provides critical data, insights, and recommendations to leadership teams to drive decision making. He has sat on a number of community boards and is currently an iLab mentor at Darden. He's an angel investor at the Charlottesville Angel Network. And honestly, he's a mentor. There's a lot of people that he mentors, outside of those capacities. So Don is wonderful, and I think you're really enjoying him sharing his Crash and Run story. So help me welcome Don Dunham.
Thank you, Hope, and thank you for all the work you do. You bring people together in a way that a lot of people can't do. So I don't think of myself as a crash and burn because I don't like crashing, I don't like burning. So I have a few tools to compensate for that. You probably don't know about it. It's an energy guy. But, I was not raised traditionally. I was raised in a family. I look back and it's dysfunctional, but somehow I think sometimes dysfunctional families teach you how to be resilient. And, my mom died when I was 13, so similar to the previous story. But it forced me to grow up early. And I kind of got up there from child entrepreneur. My first job out of mowing lawns at 5 years old was sweeping hair and shining shoes at a Greek barber shop at 10 years old. And I didn't have any money, but I had a lot of dreams and I all took money. So I was a Boy Scout, and I got a Boy's Life. In fact, Boy's Life, there were all these ways of making money. And I did every single one of them. I sold light bulbs door to door. I sold embossed Christmas cards door to door. I did anything. While I was there, I sold money from you want. But anything so that I could ultimately, when I was 16, get a car and be free. But my philosophy always was, I think my dad gave me this, is a mirror. I think all of us need to have a mirror in our back pocket, it can be metaphorical. But when something happens, look in that mirror and just ask yourself, what can that person looking at me do? Because often nobody else is out there worrying about you, or they're worrying about a million people. But what can you do? Because it's inside of you what to do. You probably are the most knowledgeable of what you need to do about you. That being one of my kind of learnings over life. It's not always easy, but it's helped me move from kind of a child entrepreneur to a waiter, to an engineer, to an executive, and now I'm back here as an entrepreneur and a mentor. And so that's sort of my start in my story. So I already said the boys' life thing. I worked as a waiter. I went to engineering school here, which is quite hard and lots of classes, but I worked 30 hours a week as a waiter to make ends meet, and I kind of grew to enjoy fun and need a little bit more spending money. I married my 8th grade sweetheart. I'm still married for 4 years. It's probably amazing, but you know, it's good to marry your best friend. Another good piece of advice, because sometimes it's not all about, you know, all that 20-year-old and teenage love. It's good to have a best friend. Then after I went to Shell for a little while, I always knew I wanted to get more education. And the one time I went to school, because I wanted to, was to go to Darden and get my MBA, which is good because it was about 100 hours a week. It was a lot of work. I had to quit a good job, and my wife drove all over Virginia, training bank people to put me through it. So it was well worth it. You know, sometimes doing something you want, you know, you didn't want to go to high school, you didn't want to go to elementary school. If you didn't go to college, sometimes you thought, well, I have to, because hopefully that'll get me a decent job. But always go and get some education because you want to. Whether it's actually how to do pottery, whether it's how to do coding, whether it's how to do home repair, whether it's how to do deep cleaning. Do something you want for you. So after I got out of Darden, I began to track, it was actually 32 years, so I feel pretty old. Every morning I feel 17 when I get up, and my back hurts. But I've been to 56 different countries and still counting and traveling around. And the one thing that's taught me is going to other countries, you realize what a great place the United States is. This is the best country in the world. We're not perfect, but when you see all the issues elsewhere, you know, you wouldn't believe how many people around the world would die to be able to be in an entrepreneurial setting, because that's what we're known for, is resilience on how to create our own existence. So one thing I've learned is, so being an engineer, my wife will come tell me some issues she's had at work or at home. Being an engineer, I don't know how many people know people that immediately, maybe a man thing, jump into trying to solve the problem. You know, they're in there, well, we can do this, we can do that, and then I hear, I don't want you to solve it, I just want you to listen. I don't know about you, but I'm kind of impatient, so I want to solve the problems. That's what I'm learning how to do. But a lot of us, when we have a problem, we immediately jump to solutions. It doesn't have to take a huge amount of time. But what I would do, and maybe some advice from you, is really write the problem you're trying to solve down and go talk to some people and say, this is what I see. Because so many people get emotional and jump to what they need to do, that they actually, if you ask them, what problem are you trying to solve? They can't state that. And sometimes you can solve it, put the problem out there, but it's like curing world hunger, or providing water for 8 billion people, or getting world peace. All wonderful things, but too lofty. You gotta break it down into some small things. Take a single piece of paper and write down what the problem is, and ultimately come back to it. And make sure you can do it in 90 days. Because the problem needs to be small enough so you can actually make progress. And while you're rolling around in that problem, sometimes you'll see the next problem. Once you solve that, what's the next one? Or you find other problems, or your problem is too big. The number of times I've actually found I've got all these solutions and ideas, and I never could find the problem. It's probably not the thing you should spend your time on. So I really encourage you to do that. And just a couple examples for me. When I was 8 years old, I didn't have any money. I had no money. And back then I wanted, I wanted candy, or I wanted some food outside the house, or as I got older, I wanted stereo equipment or whatever. So, I actually made a lot of money selling stuff on Boys Life. I was a tenacious little, about river size. And I tell you, if you go to door river, asking people things, you can make a lot of money, whatever it is. As long as mom lets you go do that. But little kids asking for things and being tenacious, give those kids money just away. But, the problem was no money, so I did something about it. I didn't go ask for money, I didn't go back. I was the only person. As a teenager, and I think there's a lot of people today, they have minimum wage jobs. And the first thing is, get another minimum wage job so that they can make ends meet. Well, at some point, there's no more hours, there's no more energy. And the thing you gotta do is, how do I work less and make more per hour? And that's when I was eating restaurants, and I was the youngest waiter they ever had at 18. Wasn't real good, but it was a much better paying gig. So, I became a waiter, and then became a waiter when I came to UVA. I was great at math and science, and couldn't write very well, hated to read. So I came up here and went to engineering school. And you can be an electrical engineer or chemical engineer or whatever. But I was the guy that liked to take apart cars and stuff like that. So I became a mechanical engineer, because you basically didn't have to make a decision which one you liked, you still over everything. And it was a good time to get out as an engineer, because it's a decent job out there. And but I always wanted to actually have my own business. So I took the test before I even graduated to go get my MBA. After 4 years, came back here once again because I wanted to learn. Which is it really is a different experience. How many people have actually wanted to go to school? Well, I'm glad to see it. Now, was that college, graduate school, or something? That's often what it is, because you chose. But those early times, you just have to go to school. Where you gotta go to school. You gotta get education. One day you get to go do that thing that you wanted to. Like I said, I really wanted to be a business person, but I was in a big company. I was in a huge company all over the world. And so my philosophy was, I can be an entrepreneur wherever you work. You can be an entrepreneur. Because an entrepreneur is really somebody that is a change agent. And you may just change your little group. You may have 2 people reporting to you, and you're kind of seeing the way the company or the entity you work for is going, and you wish you could change all these things. But what you can change is the little area where you are, in some small way. And sometimes other people will copy you, and it'll become a bigger thing. Sometimes it's just while you're there. But actually, you can be an entrepreneur or an innovator where you are. Solve the problems where you are. And unfortunately, if you have a boss or somebody that won't let you do that, hopefully you do. It's a good idea. And so I really nurtured my entrepreneurial energies at first at the companies I worked for. And I just encourage you to do that. At some point, you may want to actually get out on your own. So while this part is what am I going to do for retirement, I started thinking about that when I was 35. Because at the time, my goal was, I was trying to retire at 40. I didn't make it to 58, and then I pulled the chain. But one of the things is I love real estate. Once again, I love things that move. But I also, because I've got a sister who's not very well off, the term now is affordable housing. So what I did is every time I got saved enough money, I bought a house. And I rented it to people that were upper lower income or lower middle income. And these were in Ohio, because I was gonna retire. This was my annual report to my couple of partners that were there. But, you know, I tried to always provide a really nice house for people that could not afford it. And often they stayed with me because they couldn't buy a house, but I was good to them and didn't raise the rent much, kept things up. But unfortunately, that was in Ohio, and that's a different story. It ties to baseball, but I won't go into that. So we decided to come back where I went to get my MBA, my wife went to college here. And I like to describe Charlottesville. You know, if I tell you it's 10 square miles, 2 of them are UVA, and there's only 50,000 people here. It sounds like a small town that we're gonna have a lot going for. I like to describe Charlottesville as a 50,000 person city that actually has all the amenities of a 1 million person city. And, you know, Tracy tries to make sure of that. But you know, it's the county and everything else. It's an amazing place. There are big cities that don't have the stuff that's going on here. So it's a wonderful place to be. So I moved here 4 years ago, and before I moved, this is a portion that the day I retired, I decided I didn't want to run away from something. I wanted to run to something. So I had the fortune of saying, I'm taking a whole month to drive around the US. And I'm going to go see people I miss. I'm going to see things that I want to see. And I'm going to spend time with people that I want to spend time with. So that when I was done, I am. I specifically love the Cuban grouper sandwich in Clearwater. But I actually did, this was particular things, it was sort of like carpool karaoke. I had people that joined me for this. My daughter Maggie joined me here, and the only reason she joined me, and we didn't go to Busch Gardens, was so she could go to Disney. But she rode with her dad, and she's a nurse in Houston now, but we basically worked our way down there, and part of what I wanted to do was I went to the west of Florida and wanted to see the beaches there. And I wanted to see my stepsister Claudia, so I actually put that together. I then hopped in with my stepbrother, and we got to know each other better. And if you've ever looked at Atlas Obscura, we actually were finding things along the way and silly little things to see. But I was nurturing my soul for whatever's going to come next. And then my son joined me, and we did the Bourbon Trail, which was quite good. And Memphis and Elvis and all that stuff. But once again, this was me trying to separate from the change in my life. So, and a lot of these things, they say, oh, this is an old retired guy, but I encourage you to think now about what you want. What are you working so hard today for? And what's it going to be? So I came up with, for the third of my life, hopefully it's, you know, it could be longer than that. But there are 4 things I wanted to do. I kind of graded myself when I was doing this. Travel, great. Even during COVID, I was to say that we did do some travel. I wanted to spend time with entrepreneurs. And the reason, it's just like people here. I'm selfish. I get a lot out of meeting you. You guys exude a lot of energy for the creative things you're trying to do, the hard work you're putting into it. And it just gives me ideas. And then I bump into people that maybe they've got a problem, and I can sit down and talk with them about it. With no agenda or anything else. I meet with probably 3 or 4 people a week just to chat about their issues. And either I don't know anything, but I connect them with people, or I can give them some ideas and mentor a little bit more than that. But that's going relatively well. I'd like to do a little bit more. I do consulting, but over COVID, it's been a little bit tough. And one of the problems is I like to do consulting, but the people I like to consult with often can't afford to pay me, so I do a lot of free consulting. That's okay. And then philanthropy. I have a son who's had some real issues. He's doing better now, but out of all those sleepless nights that I worried about him, I came up with a big, audacious goal. And to be honest, I'm too scared to do it. Actually, sorry. Well, right now, I'm building an affordable housing unit here in Charlottesville, which is needed very much rather than all the political blowhards that aren't really doing anything. I took my son's house, had an old barn, which was full of a bunch of crap, and I didn't get $2,000 for selling it all. I got 913 for so every one of the things in there. But I now have windows, I have framing going up, and June 1st, it'll be available. And people tell me I can make a lot of money on Airbnb, but it's gonna be something priced, so something that doesn't have a house can have a house. Now my audacious goal, and that, anybody want to give me some help with this? I want to help create 20 million new jobs, middle-class jobs in America. Because I actually feel, first of all, people don't know what middle class is. I think middle class is, you can own a 1,600 square foot house. You can have 1 week of a vacation away from the house. You can actually save for retirement and retire at 65 and put your kids through community college. At least get to there. And to do that, we're losing our middle class. And we're losing the ability for people to see how to get there. So it's a big audacious goal, but I want everybody growing up to actually see how they could get there. They gotta work hard. It's not free, but if they're willing to do it, they can get there. And some of the things, I've got a bigger presentation here, but is how do I find the little things that people are doing in various cities in the United States that are working? Because we don't really have, and this has nothing to do with government, okay? If we need something from the government, we'll tell the government what we need. But it's like people, there's a professor at Dartmouth and his wife, Fairchild, that is going into prisons and teaching people how to do business and giving them a certificate. So when they come out, they get a job rather than recidivism and actually go back to what they know. There is a guy that I know that teaches people that come out from being a Navy SEAL or an 82nd Airborne or something like that are used to doing some pretty horrible things. And they can't get a job. They've done these amazing things all over the world, but he helps actually break them down and teach them how to actually create a new future. There are people that are taking underprivileged kids that are smart, but if they're not nurtured and in good schools that see the future, unfortunately, they're like my cousin's, who's a social worker. A lady comes in with an 8-year-old, the 8-year-old says, "Will you be my social worker when I grow up?" Well, that's not the way. So I want to get everybody together in a huge convention of people that are doing it right and figure out how we replicate this across the United States and get the good programs actually working. And there's way too many that are just consuming space. So this scares me to death. But anybody have any ideas, please come see me. With that, I'm going to stop right there. But the key thing is only you can allow yourself to crash and burn. Be resilient and pivot. I love your story. I love you because you are going to be incredibly successful. And talk to people and get ideas and adjust things. But look at the mirror. You can solve any of your own problems. So, thank you.
Does anyone have any questions for Don?
Hi, Don, thank you for sharing this. I was wondering if you, in your lifetime, and your entrepreneurial spirit, could compare and contrast the formalized learning that took place in your career, and you went back to Darden, but also the informal, the experiential, the things that you learn by doing. I wonder how you might, I guess, share that experience with the rest of us and how that impacts what you're talking about here with your goals.
I deeply believe that the learning you get by doing is the most important thing. Because I don't believe everybody needs a college degree. If anybody knows Mike Grove from Dirty Jobs, I love what he does. Because he encourages people to go out and do things and get better at it and all the things we depend on. But when I was 16 and I bought a car, and my car wasn't running, and before work I decided to tear apart the carburetor and had to bike to work because I didn't want to put it back together. That was a learning experience, a heck of a lot better sitting in a class, listening to a professor, blah, 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 blah. But a lot of the foundations for things that you need to know come out of a classroom setting. But I think that you really have to go in and actually get your hands dirty, like you would, sometimes you get your hands dirty first before you want to go out there and start teaching, but, I really do think that you learn so much more about what you do, and often from your failures, everybody says that. But you know, if you have something that goes really well, what did you learn? You know, you probably don't replicate it. Again, it's hard to tell somebody, don't do that, don't do this, but it is a blend. It depends on the content. I mean, if you're gonna work on a car, probably would have been good if I had talked to somebody about rebuilding the carburetor before the springs went into the grass and all of that. But I also learned to go talk to somebody first before I do that. So, but I really think doing is the most important thing. And sometimes it's gonna take longer, and like building this house has taken a year, so I've learned an awful lot. Unfortunately, things have gotten a lot more expensive than I've been waiting. Good question, good question.
Thanks for sharing, Tom, that was great. Just a quick question about the oil and gas industry and the profit that we continue to see, which is great for them. I think one of the things we struggle with, though, is seeing or not knowing what are Exxon and Mobil and Shell doing with all those profits other than R&D. They've got to be giving back to the community just like you are, but we don't hear about that. So that's where we get like enraged as middle class citizens. Do they? And if they do, and they don't, do they share that with people?
Well, part of it, they share it in the local communities they operate in. But, and I'm not going to be an advocate for the oil and gas industry, but I can tell you right now that all the employees I had and all the people I worked with were more active in the community out of our company than anywhere else. We drove more energy efficient cars, we had more energy efficient houses. And the fact is, yes, the profits were very high, but during the pandemic, just my company, BP, lost $100 billion. And nobody wants to say, you know, I've actually got pictures when the oil price went down to minus $37. How do you make money when you've got to actually pay for it? But what they do is and you know, companies invest things self-serving, no question. But we bill with the money that when we build hospitals in Angola, we do this, we do that. But part of the problem is if people in the oil and gas community feel that nobody cares. You're not going to change their view. And while they try to actually say, oh, human energy at Chevron and the things that are done, but the hours that employees for oil and gas companies spend in the community and trying to help people is amazing. And I know the profits are high, but here's first of all, many people here know the difference between profit and cash flow. Cash flow is what matters, but where the cash flow goes is, you may not know this, but in the Gulf of Mexico, one oil well costs $2 billion to drill, and it may fail. And they do fail by, there's nothing there. So this stuff's expensive that we use. And what they do is they first, they pay dividends to their shareholders, they pay their debts, and they invest capital to grow the business, because oil and gas, one of the things, it's not like a factory where something puts out the same number of widgets forever. The day you turn it on is the highest production it will have, and then it declines, and you've got to keep replacing that. And we're all consuming more. Whether you like it or not, you have no idea the energy that we all consume. And it's a sign of a very vibrant society. And we've got 4 billion people in China and India who want to be like you, and they're not going to do it without energy. So that's the end of my public service. happy to talk about that anytime.
Questions?
I will say, if anybody would like free of charge to just talk and about problems that you have or something, I've got cards with me, I'd be more than happy to sit down and chat with you. I love to take people to coffee, and, it's all confidential, but, I think sometimes people don't have nice people to talk to. And I'm one of those.
I've talked to involve. Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Well, as we wind down, thank you both for sharing. We close with announcements, and then whatever time's left before 10, you can socialize in the back. But the 3 organizations that help run this event will share if there's any upcoming events or just announcements. So we can start with CIC.
Yeah, I'm also doing SBTC, so there's a lot to cover for SBTC, so I'm gonna do my best, but welcome to everyone, especially those of you who are new. I saw a lot of new faces this morning, which is exciting. My name is Anna, I'm the operations coordinator at CIC, or Community Investment Collaborative. We are a nonprofit that helps small businesses and entrepreneurs. We do that through financing, mentoring, and education. So one of our main offerings is a 16-week workshop that we have twice per year. This is very echoing. I'll step back a little bit. And applications for that workshop just closed, but we hold it in the spring and the fall. So if you or anyone else is interested in that workshop, we'll be opening applications again May 1st, I believe, but we have more information on our website. We also work very closely with the Central Virginia Small Business Development Center, or the CVSBDC. And yes, there are a lot of acronyms and consonants involved in this little spiel, but we do business cards back there if anyone is not remembering. The Small Business Development Center specializes in one-on-one counseling, so they offer free one-on-one counseling. They have a number of different advisors who have different specialties. They're super helpful. They also do a lot of webinars and seminars that are constantly running. If you go to their website, it's on their calendar of events, you can check that out. And I'm gonna get the list of items that I need to bring up. There aren't many announcements for CIC right now, so I'm just going to jump right into SBDC. So there's the Piedmont Pitch Competition. Applications are open for this. One thing that you have to do for Piedmont Pitch is the Business Essentials Training, which is formerly known as the Founder Series, if that rings a bell to anyone. There is an opportunity to pitch for $15K in prize money, but the Business Essentials Training has to be completed first. But there is like a program involved in all of this that kind of teaches you how to pitch and as you work with advisors. So that's a really great opportunity. There are also pitch programs in Livingston and Culpeper. If anyone wants to know more about those, they can contact SBTC. Mesa, my coworker, is back there, business cards. There is the Getting Deals Done event, which is with CAN. Tracy knows more about that one, so I'm gonna let her expand on that as she wants to, but you can also reach out to the SBDC, again, business cards are back there. That's on March 7th, 6 p.m. And then the final thing is Global Launchpad, which is an international small business conference, which is going to be May 18th here at Coyote. I'm not sure if it's in this room or a different one, but it's somewhere in this building. If anyone needs help remembering that date, I think it's be my birthday, so that's helpful somehow. There'll be more. Exactly. There'll be more information coming out about that soon. But I think I covered the SBDC side of things. I know that's a lot of information, so if anyone has any questions, just come on to the back afterwards and we'll be there.
Also, if you sign up for our newsletters, you'll get a lot of this information in your inbox, so you will always be able to know. My name is Tracy Green. I'm the Executive Director for CBICS, Charlottesville Business Innovation Council. Some people also know that I'm the founder and Executive Director of the Charlottesville Angel Network. And awards are coming up. CDIP Awards 2023. Who here has a startup company? Who here is an innovator? An entrepreneur? Any teachers? in the room? Oh, look at that. So we have C-2 for 25 years, has been putting on awards for entrepreneurs, startups, innovators, and teachers, and student entrepreneur. Those nominations are really great when they come directly from self-nominations. So I encourage all of you to go to the SiegelInnovation.org website and check out our award nomination form and be thinking about, do I qualify for this award? Would this be good for me? Or who do I know? Do you have a child in education in K through 12 that does really amazing things with science, technology, engineering, math? Or the way they deploy that with their students in their classroom. That's the kind of educator that we're looking to acknowledge, and then we give them a grant for doing great things in their classroom. So again, the end of this month is the deadline to get those nominations in, and I'm asking you to make those nominations. We take the finalists and we announce them about a month before our big gala, and our gala this year will be held at North Fork, which is the University of Virginia's research park that's up 29 North. That's the first time we'll have used that venue, and that'll be on June 1st, so save the date. Coming up, we're doing a new education series called Civic Tech Talks. We're gonna pick various topics of interest to the technology community and innovators. Because Civic is the tech council, we educate, advocate, celebrate technology and innovation around entrepreneurship. And this first one, our inaugural offering of Civic Tech Talk is on March 1st. It'll be in the morning, 8:30 to 10, over free coffee. And this one is called IP of AI. So it talks about copyrights and what you can and cannot potentially grab as IP if you're using any of those bots like ChatGPT. That's a big thing right now. So if you're deploying ChatGPT for your business, you might really want to know what the intellectual property ins and outs are. So that's a free event coming up. I talked about the awards, nomination forms again by the end of the month. We do this event the third Tuesday of every month. And then we also do another event every month on the second Tuesday called Civic Tech on Tap. We've been using the Bevadera. We hope to be able to move that here to the code building. And the event that Hannah mentioned about doing deals, getting deals done, the Charlottesville Angel Network offers a training program on how to do due diligence. And if you're an investor, if you're going to invest in a startup, what are the things that you're looking for? And we take a red flags approach, and we teach people what we're looking for. So it's open to anybody, not just our own investor members. This is how we actually train our own investor members to do due diligence and deals. But we open it up so that if you're an entrepreneur and you're going to be raising capital, that is an opportunity for you to see on the other side of the table, what do they want? What kind of documents do they want? What are they looking for? What kinds of red flags do I need to make sure I've avoided? And then that event's coming up, I forgot the date, March 7th, I think it is. And it's going to be held at the SBDC's office on the second floor training room. Lots of content. Again, if you sign up for our newsletters, you'll have all this in your inbox. Thanks for listening. Is there anything else up?
Right. All right, so now you guys have the floor. Are any of you have any events you want to let this group know about, or your company's hiring? So those are two types of announcements that we do, upcoming events, or if your company is hiring. Okay. Well, as you know, yeah, Dave, okay. Do you want to grab the mic, Dave? I know you put it on the list.
Thanks. Dave Johnson with Icarus. We are hiring mechanical engineers, biomedical engineers, a VP of marketing, an experienced marketing person, an executive assistant, and I think that's about it for right now.
So Icarus, Dave has been one of our speakers as well on the early stage. He has a knee-brace company that has technology. It's very cool and it's local.
Civic's gonna be hiring for programs and events coordinator, somebody who's able to help us produce the great events that we do. So if you are interested or know somebody who's interested, have me put the job description together, but let me know. I'm executive at CVilleInnovation.org. Executive at CVilleInnovation.org.
And then I am a recruiter by profession. So I'll tell you about maybe 3 of the roles I have. I'm also looking for an executive assistant for a high level, very cool, impactful entrepreneur. I'm looking for a director for a nonprofit, kind of a C-suite level executive is what I'm looking for. So definitely for that one, if you know someone, if you are that, if you know someone, please come see me about that one. It's for CNE, it's for the Center for Nonprofit Excellence. But I'm their primary recruiter working on that role, so it's the Director of Impacts and Learning. And then if you are a, let's say, under 10-year developer with C#, Java, or that, C++, I'm looking for that for a local tech company. Okay, so I think that is it. We will be back here the 3rd Tuesday of March, and same place, which by the way, again, I want to give a shout out to Code. We are very, very appreciative of your support, really providing this venue. Yeah, and Rob is going to do tours if you I've always told him. But if you'd like to see this space, he or somebody here will be able to give you a tour. It's a great co-working space. I know I'm here, Tracy, a bunch of you guys, I think we're here. So with that, we'll see you in a month. Have a good one.